Coach, welcome to the Randy Karraker Show on St. Louis Sports Central. Great to have you with us. How you doing?
Not too bad. How are you guys?
Everything's terrific. Matthew just ran down everything that's happened this week, and we'll get into more detail with that. But congratulations on the win last week. How important is it for your side to put together back-to-back good performances?
Since David took over, I think looking at the data, but also looking at the eye test, I think we played some good football. Not always got the result we wanted. I give you the best example was the Portland game away, where I thought it was probably our best away game since I can remember. We created lots of chances against a really good team. Could have won that game, but again, it's obviously the switch from coaches when he comes back now to playing again our style, which is very different from what we did before. Takes a bit of time. It can't just happen overnight, also from a physicality. But I think what you saw, especially against Portland, over a long period of the game, I think there was looked pretty much like St. Louis City SC and looked pretty much the style I want to play. There was a lot of press. There was a lot of counter press. There was a lot of aggressive offensive football. And I think you can feel it in St. Louis. I think it's very easy if you're looking into the atmosphere in the stands. The people really appreciate if we play the way they're used to, what made us. And, I think that was one of these games, even against San Jose or against LA Galaxy at home. I think you did feel quite a lot of passion from the fans and a lot of support. And that somehow always proves to me that we're on the right track.
And obviously, the week started off with a big announcement. You guys officially announced the transfer of Fau Fall, the 21-year-old Senegalese center back from Fredrikstad in Norway. Obviously, you've already talked about how special a player he is on the field. He's progressive passing and things like that. He's 6'4", so we know he's going to be a threat in the aerial game. But I know you've talked a lot about, when you made the move for Klaus and Leuven and your knowledge of those players. So with a guy like Fau Fall, who's such a big price tag and at 21 years old is going to be so important to the future of this team, I know there has to be qualities off the football field that jumped off to you guys to make this move. So more than just what he is as a player on the field, what about Fau Fall made him the right move for you guys?
Yeah, I think, the first one you need to look at is the position. Left-footed center backs, they are very difficult to find. It's sometimes a bit like a needle in a haystack. It's probably the most difficult position to find next to a left back. But a left-footed under 22 center back makes it even more difficult. So there was players out there. We worked for a long time, especially on that particular position. And Fallou Fall was always a guy which was very, very high up in our ranking. I see him as the perfect fit for us because of you mentioned the progressive passing. You mentioned the physicality, but as I say, as a center back, the most part of the game is, or the important part is the defensive side as well. So you can have the best footballer in that position. If he can't defend, it won't work out as well. So I think the mix here was very important. So he has already a certain experience at really good level coming from Reims, which is a good team in France, where they do really believe in youth development. And in Fredrikstad, when he was on loan, and this season he was really doing well. His data went through the roof as well. But then again, it's I think you mentioned it. It's for me, it's a signing for the future as well. I don't want to put all the pressure in the world on a 21-year-old who just comes in, who also needs a bit of time to get used to the American lifestyle and everything. I mean, he speaks good English, which is a big advantage for us. But most important, I see him as a very important, good addition right now, and he will help us immediately. But especially looking forward to 2026, I think that's where Fallou Fall will be for us a weapon, and that's why we went for him. Yeah, it's a decent price tag, as you said. But then again, if you do look at the pricing of left-footed center backs, which are very rare out there, when especially our data, we know we need a certain style of play as well. I'm very happy with that. We managed to secure that deal.
You mentioned Reims being a big club that, when it comes to their youth development, obviously St. Louis City, you guys prioritize that as well. And there's some big names in the news over the last week, from the youth pyramid. One of them a little bit older, Mykhi Joyner. He's pushing to be the scoring leader in MLS Next Pro for the second straight season. He has just one more call available on his current contract for this year. What is the plan to keep pushing Mykhi's development for this season?
Yeah, I think, we believe a lot in our own players. In our academy, we put a lot of work in that, and looking at the results since we exist, but also when we qualify for the nationals, we always manage to have a team in the semifinals and the finals. So we do have a high priority of our academy players. And Mykhi, he did fantastically well as an academy player. He did really well also now the last 1.5 seasons with City 2. But then again, it's a young player, and you don't want to push it too much. You need to find the right balance. I mean, he trains most of the week with the first team. He had some good impact with the first team, and the future is his, no doubt about it. We are very happy and excited to have him here. I think he has a big future at our club for sure, but we also have to give him a little bit of time. Rushing it especially also now in a situation where we do have pressure, where the results are not always going our way. It's not an ideal situation for a youngster. So build him up slowly and steadily till he will be one of our top players. That's the plan. And as I said, I really believe in him. He was one of the guys which I pushed myself since the day he's here. You can ask him how I do that sometimes. Also, to be honest, looking at the way City 2 is performing, I think this group can go all the way, and Mykhi plays a very important role in there, and I think he can get a lot of confidence, a lot of scorer points, a lot of goals. In his case, probably the coolest penalties in the country at the moment when he takes it. So lots of promising potential there, but we need to be a bit patient before we throw him there into the shark tank.
Lutz, we've talked about a 21-year-old youngster that you get in the transfer window, and then we're talking about City 2. You've got a relatively young roster, but you've got a group of players in their prime as well. How much will the composition of the roster and the youth of the roster influence your search for and decision on a new head coach?
Yeah, obviously we want to be a bit younger. The players are here. Our core group is here now since they came in 2022. When we didn't have a team yet, when they still were playing half a year for training with City 2 as well. So obviously we signed them in a pretty young age, but now 3.5 years later, they're 3.5 years older, which is a simple math. So we are now working on that to get the squad a bit younger again. Fallou was just a start. I don't have to tell you that, but there's lots of other rumors flying around out there. So we do focus this window on more of the younger players. That doesn't mean that we're also looking on the market at some experienced guys as well. But right now, to make the squad a bit younger, a bit more athletic, a bit quicker, that's very clear, the goal I had. And I think, as we mentioned, that the youth development there, to believe in our own structure, to pull up guys. Hazil Orozco is the best example as a 21-year-old, not being scared and not being shy to give guys from the second team, young, talented, a go, and reward him now also with a contract for the first team. I think that's where we want to land also in the future. And Randy, it's not just this window is big. I think the window which comes up in January will be another one, because it's not a big secret. There's lots of players and options, which gives us the opportunity to review and to watch every training session, every game, and then make decisions, make good decisions, but also make hard decisions. That next season we will have I will call it a very competitive squad out there, which is a bit younger than it was this year.
I know this player won't factor into next year, but when you see the news that a player in the academy wins the MLS Next Pro U15 MVP. Eddie Niles scores 31 goals in the regular season. Obviously, a lot of casual fans don't have a chance to watch the U15 game matches, but I know you're obviously tied in when you have a talent like that. So let St. Louis know what kind of game does Eddie Niles have? Should we be excited about this kid, and how special is he that he wins this U15 MVP award?
No, always have to be careful, to talk about such a young player in detail. But obviously, he's all over the news now. So the way he performed since he's here was tremendous. The whole soccer community in America talks about him right now, and it's not just the goals he scores or the assists he have. It's the way he carries himself in such a young age. That's a player where not just myself, but I think lots of scouts from all over the show are looking at him. Because he grabbed that headlines now to be an MVP that early on. I think it just shows that there's massive potential there. But it's not just Eddie. There is a big group of players out there in our 09, 010 born players, which are really, really top level, which have a lot of potential to make the next step, to become professional footballers. But as we know, you can be tremendous at youth level. Once the boys' game becomes a men's game, it's not just about talent. It's not just about skills. It's a lot about mentality. It's a lot about hard work. And our playing style is pretty difficult. So it's more than just scoring goals and be fancy. You need to be a hardworking guy. You need to really fit in the way what we do. And I think Eddie Niles have a lot of that already purely in his football DNA.
We talked about a lot of things that happened in this past week. The win, the Fau Fall announcement. We mentioned it today. Obviously, the two sell-on clauses will be activated for players that got sold on later, and I know that helps you guys do your job. So a lot of good things happening over the last 5 days, and I imagine just over the last couple of weeks, things have been looking up for you overall.
That's the beauty, but also the ugly side of my job, because things changing, at least for the outside world, within 5 minutes. Honestly, for me, they don't change at all. It's still the same like 4 weeks ago. The biggest problem at the moment I have to deal with, or we all have to deal with, are the injury crisis. And that might sound like an excuse, but if you have an average of 6-7 guys out, and it's not players in the lower part of the salary structure, it's potential starters. The way the MLS is built when it comes to roster slots, when it comes to designations, it's just very, very difficult to just compensate it overnight. It doesn't work, and that is where the patience, but also keeping a calm head and take a lot of little stick here and there. That's part of the game. But then we need to also keep a cool mind and realize that a player like Durkin, a player like Edu, who was out there for a while, or Kessler, or you mentioned it, basically nearly every center back and every defensive midfielder is not available. So looking at that last game against Portland, where we had or even in Salt Lake and Houston, where we had such a young, inexperienced backline out, we still managed to play open games. We didn't get slaughtered. And I know every fan in the world wants to win every single game, but sometimes being realistic helps a lot. So fans don't have to be realistic. That's my job. And it was difficult, but having now an opportunity to bring new players in, having an opportunity to get the guys now slowly back on their feet and get them ready to start games again, I think that's massive for us. And we just want to try, work hard, and win as many games as possible. At the same time, I need to look a little bit further ahead than just this season. I need to look into 26, and it's right now already, for me, once that window closes, after 5 minutes, the next window opens. So it never stops.
Hey, Lutz, last thing from me. So much talk about changing the MLS schedule so that your schedule and transfer window conform to Europe's transfer window. What sort of difficulty is there, if any, in going out and pursuing a guy like Fall when your transfer window is different than theirs?
Yeah, coincidentally, Randy, the Norwegian window is similar to ours because that's one of the few countries who plays like the United States. But from the base of the question, yeah, it is obviously difficult because our main window in January, this is when European teams or South American teams are in the middle of a season where you do not get the best players because simply they want to keep them, or you overpay because they want to keep them. So it's a pretty straight one. So our summer window, which is our secondary window, that is when a lot of players coming on the market, when you can get players for, I would call it market price, but all the players running out of contract. So for example, a player like Marcel Hartl, you would never be able to get in a January window because he will cost you a lot of money, but you can pick a player of that level up, or even a player like Roman Bürki we picked up in the summer on a free transfer. That is one of the things right now with MLS, having these two different main windows obviously makes it sometimes difficult to get the best players, but I think MLS developed so well in the last 6, 7, 8 years, where I say, everybody talks about the big five in Europe, and the big five will always, so far, will stay, but right there on the edge, I think MLS is literally scratching on the door. More and more top players coming in from all over the world. The World Cup will be a massive push in the right direction, and it must be the goal in the future to attack the top five. And I think one day when maybe, hopefully, or maybe not, the windows will be aligned, it would definitely be a good opportunity to bring in top players for a reasonable rate.